Well, here we are in a new month, February, Black History Month. The Science of Mind magazine's theme for this month is the revelation of unity, which I think goes right along with it, doesn't it? Yeah. Revelation of unity. So I want to read this to you. This is from the book The Essential Ernest Holmes by Jesse Jennings. The year was 1945. The third branch church to be organized and chartered was in East LA, and it was led by the Reverend Arthur Twine, an African-American minister with a congregation of both black and white congregants. When some complaints started coming up about this, it resulted in the June of 1945's issue of Science of Mind magazine dropping the East Side Church from first to last in the directory, in the alphabetical listing of metropolitan LA branch churches, and tacking on the designation colored. Ernest arranged to meet with his friend, Reverend Twine, and to go there and be a guest speaker. To a hushed crowd, Ernest Holmes began, "I have been told that too many non-Caucasians attend these lectures. True, there are Caucasians and non-Caucasians in this congregation, but this we must affirm. We are all children of one living God, one life that permeates all without exception, one intelligence that governs all, and most important, every man and every woman who abides in the universe is a significant entity in the one universal consciousness. Our doors will forever be open to all. Whoever you are, be proud. You are a divine idea in the mind of God." Now, for those of you who usually come into Vision from the front door, you might have recognized that last line because that's the quote that's on the wall in the hallway to Vision. So Jesse Jennings goes on and says, the magazine immediately reverted to the way it had been listed. Somebody had briefly bowed to the segregationist conventions of the day, only to be reminded that Ernest Holmes' teachings were anything but conventional. So here we are in this new month with this teaching. Ernest Holmes saw the revelation of unity so clearly. He embodied it so completely, and he demonstrated it so compassionately. Ernest Holmes celebrated our life. He celebrated all life. He celebrated all life. He used to say strangers were just friends he hadn't met yet. I love that. Which all leads to today's talk, and today's talk is beyond tolerance. Now, I like the word tolerance. I think it's a good start. It's just a good start, but it's just a starting place. Here's the definition. Here's one of the textbook definitions, dictionary definitions of the word tolerance. The ability or willingness to endure something. In particular, the existence of opinions or behaviors that one does not necessarily agree with. The ability to endure. All right, so that's it's a starting place. Again, it's only the beginning. In the commentary on the Science of Mind, the 26th edition, the 1926 edition, Ernest Holmes said, above everything, learn tolerance. He did say that. The moment a person becomes intolerant, he professes great ignorance. He is a poor metaphysician. Having very little human understanding, how does he think he can have divine understanding? So that's our starting place. Tolerance is just our starting place. And we take baby steps, penguin steps, little tiny penguin, toward acceptance. We move, right? When we evolve, we move from tolerance to acceptance. And so now let's look at the definition of acceptance. The action or process of being received as adequate or suitable. Okay? Typically being admitted to a group. So here, okay, I'm going to admit acceptance is better than tolerance, right? It's certainly better than tolerating someone, but can you hear still the inequality in that definition? You can hear it. You know, the action of acceptance being offered to a group or to an individual as if they have control over that. Okay? So if a group can dictate who's in, who's out, right? Who's acceptable, who's not acceptable. In the Science of Mind magazine, Ernest Holmes said, "We generally seem to resist change." Now, isn't that a riot? For a movement whose tagline is change your thinking, change your life. It is so interesting. Did you ever see that cartoon, you know, where the gentleman is addressing the crowd and he says, "Who wants change?" And everybody raises their hand. And then he says, "Who wants to change?" And everybody pulls their hand back down. Right? Ernest Holmes said this. He said, "We generally seem to resist change, even change that is better for us. We also appear to resist being what we really are. We need to learn carefully and surely to permit ourselves to accept a fuller expression of mind that is within us. Against this, there must be no resistance, for in its creative flow, through us rests our entire future. The greater person we may be, and the richer life we deserve to enjoy." It hinges on our acceptance of life, just the way it shows up. Our acceptance of a greater expression of life, meaning all life, exactly as it is and exactly as it is not. No one of us dictates how it's going to look. We express a greater sense of living when we accept all of life exactly the way it is, just as it shows up, accepting it all and rejecting none of it. Everything happens in consciousness, right? Remember, everything happens in consciousness, and then it outpictures in the physical world. It's almost like the last link in the chain of manifestation is the physical world. But everything begins in our consciousness. So we have moved here from tolerance to acceptance. And then what happens? We move from acceptance to respect. Yes? And the definition of respect, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something, elicited by their abilities, or their qualities, their achievements. So in order to respect someone, we have to know something about them. Right? It says right there, abilities, achievements, accomplishments. So in order to respect someone or someone's culture, ethnicity, orientation, we need to know them. We need to know them. Respect is built on acceptance. You see how this builds, sort of one concept on the next. We've gone from tolerance to acceptance, acceptance to respect. Respect acknowledges the value of our differences that up until now were unknown, until we seek them out, until we are curious and open and receptive enough to see the differences, to acknowledge the differences, to understand the differences, to be curious about those differences. We gain the knowledge. We become that greater expressed human being. Ernest Holmes, in the 10 Ideas That Make a Difference, he said, "Everyone wishes to have a friend, to be a friend, and everyone wants to be happy. Surely it is intended that we all live together in peace and prosperity. This is the way by which it can be brought about. First of all, we must do away with all prejudice and learn to respect each other." That's real simple. "We must come to know the needs of others and to realize at the base of everyone's life is the sincere desire to love and to be loved." That's it. So this knowledge dissipates fear, doesn't it? It dissipates fear when we have understanding of each other and we understand the revelation of unity, that at the root of all of it is one. At the root of all of it is God, and God is love. We only fear the unknown. We don't fear things we understand. We only fear the unknown. Fear evaporates into the nothingness from which it comes when we gain knowledge and then wisdom, which is really knowledge and experience, right? When we know others' cultures, others' identity, rituals, tradition, other people's faith, we can identify with them. We can bring it back home and see the unity of experience. Each one of us is love. Each one of us is purely spirit. And that knowledge, that curiosity about someone else, that leads to that wisdom, right? Knowledge plus experience leads to our wisdom. So we identify with others. We are them, and they are us. We realize that we all come from the same root, different branches of the same tree. And then what happens is we celebrate those differences, right? That's really where we're going with all of this, from tolerance to acceptance, acceptance to respect, respect to celebration. Something, here's the definition, something worthy of praise and the appreciation which is given to it. That's celebration. The oneness with others does not eliminate our differences. We have to see the differences. We have to celebrate the differences. We are all so individual, right? Ernest Holmes said we are an individualized expression of the one life. You know, when we celebrate others, we don't become colorblind. We don't become diversity blind. We don't become orientation blind. That would be a denial of our uniqueness. We have to get to the point where we celebrate our uniqueness. We're all different for a reason. We have to appreciate and we have to praise those differences. I remember back in not that far back. Back in 2006, Bill Clinton was being interviewed by Tim Russert. And Tim asked him what was the biggest problem confronting the world today. And Bill Clinton said, the illusion that our differences matter more than our common humanity. That's the biggest challenge we have, that our differences matter more than our common humanity. And we know that's not true. Right here in this group, in religious science and New Thought, what we know is one. We know one. And we know the diversity that springs from the one life, from the one energy. God created us all in its image and likeness. And we are uniquely incarnated. Uniquely. You should stand up here and you should be able to, and take turns just standing up here and just look at everybody. I mean, it's just amazing, the unique, individualized way that Spirit has shown up. Spirit shows up as you, and there'll never be another one again. Hasn't been before, won't be again. You are the unique expression of a creator that has limitless abilities to create. And so here we all are, in all different shades and sizes and, and colors and hair color and, you like it? I stopped dyeing it. Okay, so, yay. All right, and all of our uniqueness, Spirit has created limitless amounts of beings, limitless. Different color flowers. Think of all the different color flowers there are. Think of all the different types of dogs there are. Think of all the different birds. Oh my God, all the different birds that there are. An infinite variety of insects, which, some I'm not crazy about. But anyway, that's my own judgment, sorry. We marvel at the different colors of roses, don't we? We marvel at the different colors of tulips, at the different colors of butterfly wings. Why not marvel at the different colors of humans, right? This should be a marvel. This is a world of diversity, and it's all spirit. It's all spirit showing up in limitless varieties. Ernest Holmes said this, he said, you are the light of the world. How important is it then that that light be trimmed and burning with the oil of pure spirit through the wick of peace and joy? And in this way, we glorify the indwelling God, who is the heavenly Father and cosmic Mother of us all. Of us all, no exceptions. So we started this journey, tolerance, right? I said it was a great place to start, but we don't want to stay there. Tolerance, the beginning of acceptance, which then leads to respect, the wisdom of our uniqueness, and then celebration, the celebration of that uniqueness, which leads us ultimately to unconditional love, which is where we go all along, because that's what we are. We are unconditional love. We're nothing but spirit. There is nothing else going on in this body but the activity of spirit. And the same is true for each and every being, everywhere, right? So we lead to unconditional love. Everything leads to unconditional love. So what can we say about love? Love. I mean, not the cheesy stuff, on the Hallmark commercials. I'm talking about the real stuff, When we speak unconditional love, we're talking selfless love. We're talking that agape love. That's what that word means. So there are several different kinds of love. Let's just briefly tiptoe through them. Okay. Eros, philia, storge, ludus, pragma, philautia, and finally agape. Didn't know there was that much love around, did you? That's a lot of love. Okay. So we know eros. We're really, really heavily involved in that one. We put a lot of energy behind erotic love, that sexy, erotic, lusty love, the fireworks and all the tingly parts. You know that one, right? Really well. We have philia love, brotherly love, friendship, that platonic love of people with shared experiences. Your BFF, people who have gone through the heights and the depths with you. That's philia. Storge is familial love, parents for children, sibling love, children for parents. Storge, the loved ones in our biological circle. And then ludus. Ludus is that flirty, sexy, little teasy kind of love. The wooing part. The beginning of the eros stage, maybe. Just that kind of, it's like, ooh, somebody kind of gets into your orbit and it's like, ooh, I got to know more about this person. Okay, that's ludus. Come on, you're with me. So pragma love, that enduring love that has survived years, that has survived the ages and the stages, and it is that mature love that comes from loving one person, learning how to love that one person, and then how to maintain that love over years and years. It is the loving companionship of two people that, go through the cycles of cycles and seasons and remain in love. That is pragma, enduring love. Then you have philautia. Philautia. We come to understand that in order to truly love others, there must be self-love. And that is philautia love. The love of the self, which is not narcissism. I'm not going to go there. The philautia is coming to understand this self-acceptance, the love of self, which is healthy self-esteem, where we value our own choices, we value our own lives, we value our own the boundaries we create to feed our own souls. Self-compassion, self-love in its healthiest form. We cannot share what we do not have. So philautia love is really, really important. When we have healthy self-acceptance, self-understanding, self-love, then we can extend that to others without fear of rejection, without fear of any effect. And all of this leads to agape love, the highest and the most radical form of love. Boundless compassion and infinite empathy for all life. For all life, no exceptions. It is the purest form of love that is free from desires and expectations. It is love regardless of flaws and shortcomings, because there is no judgment. So there we go. We started this conversation from tolerance, and we traveled all the way to unconditional love, where it always goes anyway, because that is the truth of us. Tolerance, those baby steps, remember, that leads us through to acceptance, to respect, celebration, and finally to love, unconditional love. Where we've been all along. I feel like Dorothy, the shoes. Takes you home where you've been all along. You just didn't realize it. Ernest Holmes said this in the Holmes Reader on Practical Wisdom. Love is a language which is universal, interpreted through every living soul and understood by all. Love will find a solution to every problem, will answer every question, and will ultimately vanquish every foe. Love begets tolerance, tolerance begets understanding, understanding which is able to put itself in the other person's place. Let us each draw a picture of divinity in our own way, with our own brush, blending the colors from the inner perception of our own spiritual state. We should never rob anyone of his faith, unless we can give him a better one. Respect everyone's belief and willing to worship with anyone at their altar of faith. Be all-inclusive with your spiritual embrace of humanity. Do this with deep sincerity, in reverence, and with complete abandonment of the personal self to that spirit which has revealed itself throughout the ages. Love all and criticize none. Refuse to bury spiritual sympathy and divine understanding in its grave clothes of intolerance and bigotry. Thus shall your all-inclusive understanding pass through the flame of love into union with good. See, I told you that's where it all winds up. It always winds up with love, because God is love, and we are that. Welcome to the revelation of unity. Thank you so much.